Hey guys, Super Nintendo here, and I'm here with David Welch and his new game, Hill Bounties. Why don't you tell me a little bit about Hill Bounties?
Sure, so this is Hill Bounties. It's a follow-up to Hill Heroes. It is a retro RPG set in the Wild West. It supports up to 4 players local co-op. We might try some of that in a little bit after I show you a few things. Yeah, that's what I said.
Awesome. So, how long have you been working on this game?
The first one I started in about 2011. That came out in 2014, and this one probably since then, so about 3 years.
Okay. And so, what gave you the inspiration to make a game about a Wild West instead of something like EarthBound or like a dragon themed or something like that, like a Final Fantasy type game?
I thought I had a lot of passion for kind of the classic style of RPG, and I wanted to try some of those tropes and some of those kinds of styles you're used to, but in a different setting, and see how they fit in together. So, for example, you replace a lot of the traditional fantasy elements, like instead of dragons, you have grizzly bears, and instead of wizards, you have outlaws, and instead of evil emperors, you have evil oil tycoons.
Well, that's pretty cool. I haven't seen too many games like this, like in this particular setting, so it might actually be fairly refreshing for people who are interested in RPGs. So, walk me through a little bit of what's the basis of the story without giving too much away.
So in this game, you're trying to hunt down 4 legendary outlaws. So it's kind of like Mega Man, where you fight different robot masters and you go through their levels and fight them at the end. This game's kind of set up in the same way, where you have to fight them all, but you can kind of choose the order. Right now, I just finished one, so this is kind of an in-between chapter sort of scenario where I'm just kind of exploring the town and restocking up on equipment, getting new items, and things like that.
Okay. So, what are the names of the characters here? You got Kid, Rosie, Doc, Moon. How do these guys know each other?
Well, they met in the first game. So Kid is a farm kid who originally came to this town to get a job and kind of got swept up in this thing. Doc is someone who's been after this gang of outlaws for 10 years, who was originally part of the posse that brought them down in the first place. Moon is the daughter of the local Indian chief who's trying to help stop a war against her people, and Rosie is a rodeo gal whose family was attacked by the gang and is also trying to help us.
Oh, okay. So it's got a pretty diverse cast members here, and then you can also jump on your horse and move a little bit faster instead of hitting run. So that's pretty cool that the horse pops up instead of just running around all the time.
Yeah, it's kind of like your automatic run button. Helps you get around. You can pass through more things. It's good for places like this where you need to get to a bunch of different stores and check on different things.
All right. So walk me through what a typical setup would be before you go out into battle.
You mean as far as your equipment and skills and everything?
Yeah, what type of equipment do you guys have? Because I know it's Western themed, so you have a couple of different equipment that's related to the Wild West. So you got a riding crop, a shovel, and you got a hat too. Each hat is different, so that's pretty cool. And of course, each one probably gives you different stats and everything like that as you go around.
Right, so your hat is kind of like your job class. So by putting on a different hat, you are able to learn different skills that are related to that hat. So you get a new hat each chapter. So because you don't play as different characters in the game, you stick with the 4 same people, but they have different hats, so they play very differently. And as you learn more skills with hats, you can kind of mix and match them to make a hat that has all the skills you really like. So, for example, maybe I'll show you one. So I can change kid's hat here to this hat, so it has different skills on. It's even telling me I need to change some of my equipment to match the skills that I have.
Oh, that's pretty good. That's like something that I would need for RPGs. Like every time that I play an RPG or something like that, like I'll forget to equip the item or something like that I need to make it the most effective, and like I'll go through an entire like level of grinding and everything and realize that I didn't equip the item that I actually needed to for maximum effect. So that's good that like this game reminds you a little bit, and it doesn't really hold your hand though. Like it's still a challenging game. Like I've played it a couple of times beforehand before we started filming, and it's definitely a game that has a challenge to it, but it's not so hard that only the elite RPG player can have. And I think that's one of the big problems of RPGs is that they're not as accessible as they can be without being like super easy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it can be pretty hard. It depends. There's always things you can do to help. Like you can get better equipment. You can eat food and get perks. You can solve side quests that give you like extra items and trinkets and better things that help you in battle. So there's a lot of different options. Depends on how much of them you take. Also, what's kind of interesting about battle is that the way it's set up, that there's enough flexibility so that your level doesn't determine the whole thing. Even if you're on a lower level, if you really are patient and you get the right strategy, you can sometimes win. Like if you, let's see what I can do with this one.
Okay, so here's kind of like the battle play. Now, like walk me through it a little bit. Like how is it determined? Like you have different orders here. You got like a blue bar down at the bottom, and so it determines like your kind of MP, but it reloads, right? You don't have to worry about running out, right?
Yeah, so you have a power bar that generates in real time. I'll try to find another fight and we'll look at it again. Let's go to the farms, and there's some dangerous animals at the farm.
All right.
It's command based, but it is real time as well. So as you fight, this pig will fight me.
So you can even fight a pig in this game. This is ridiculous.
You can fight about pretty much any North American animal you can come up with. Is probably in the game at some point.
Awesome. I hope one of them drops bacon.
We'll see. So I just paused the battle. It's not really a pause, it's more of like a stop the clock where you can still do things, but the power bars are not generating.
Oh, okay.
So you see there's these red bars, that's everyone's health. The blue bar is your power, and then if I unpause it, you can see that goes up.
Oh, okay.
So everybody has at least 4 different things they can do at any one point. And these things take a certain amount of power. So if you were to select one, like I can make Daki's bounty here. He doesn't have enough power, so it's in a charging state right now. So once this bar is full, he'll just automatically do that attack. Meanwhile, I go to a different character and do the same thing. And this character do the same thing. Now, if I unpause it, this all happens at once, so that I can just keep setting up my characters and setting up their attacks. And so it all happens kind of fast-paced, but not so much that you get overwhelmed. Although sometimes you want to stop and like think and like see what attacks can I do before the enemy does their attack. So if you look at the enemy, they have their own blue power bar and they have this little line that's flashing.
Oh, okay.
That's when they'll have enough power to do what attack they're planning on doing. So I can tell who's about ready to attack, and it looks like about all of them are.
Oh, okay. So yeah, that's pretty neat because I mean when you're controlling all 4 characters essentially at once, because it also has like a multiplayer bonus where 2 players can control 2 characters each, or if I'm lesser skilled, I can control just 1 character and you can control 3. It's totally customizable. Or you can get 4 of your friends together and play through the game. Not too many RPGs do that. I think Secret of Mana did 3 players, I think. Mm-hmm. So, not too many multiplayer RPGs that aren't MMOs nowadays. So, that's a really new idea that, people are coming up with. So, you got your typical critical hits and, regular hits and poison damage, right? Mm-hmm. And interrupts. So, definitely a good, diverse skill set that each one of these characters has. So just keep them unique, even though they stay relatively the same throughout the game, right?
Yeah, the characters do. So it's like you get used to a character's fighting style with one hat, and then eventually you get a different hat, and it's like you're playing a different character.
Okay, and so now you got an S rank here. So now the battles are graded, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you can get an S rank, and so what does an S rank actually do?
It multiplies how many vantage points you get at the end of a battle. So the vantage points you need to level up your hats to learn these new skills. So if you play better and more effectively, then you'll gain hat levels faster.
Oh, awesome. So it definitely goes with your skill set too. So it has some replayability to it. So if I beat the game and I only got like a C rank or something like that, and I really want to go back and play the earlier battles, like I can get S ranks and actually progress through the game a little bit faster.
Yeah, you would learn skills faster, and it's probably unlikely that you'll unlock every hat gets to level 10, but
Okay.
it takes more and more experience each time, so it's really hard to get a hat to level 10. So in order to be 100% complete, that's something you got to do.
So yeah, it's definitely got something there for the hardcore player, which is important nowadays. Like you have some games that you can like just blow through, like take 9 hours or something like that, and it just doesn't have any replayability. But like to level up each hat that's in the game, Dave won't tell me how many hats are in the game. I guess it's a big secret here, but definitely it's something that adds gameplay value without it being cheap. So, and of course there's no microtransactions or anything like that in here, so you don't have to buy any hats. Every hat is unlockable in the game, which is definitely an old school kickback that only indie developers really are working on these days. So now you're fighting a chicken here.
Mm-hmm.
So now, does each enemy, like, can you tell which ones they're are they flying enemies or something like that, or does it really matter in this case?
They don't really have types, but flying is a kind of action that someone can do. Some enemies will fly, and I think that's a stance that makes it more difficult to hit with ranged attacks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I don't think I mentioned stances yet. So these purple things, like acrobatics, are stances. So these, for example, are evasion stances. So if Kid or Rosie are attacked here, they'll attempt to dodge. Let's see if this happens when they attack Doc. But you can attempt to avoid all damage when this happens. And this is one of the ways where you can. So they attack Doc and he counterattacked because he had the countering stance on.
Oh, okay. So that way you can at least let Doc do his own thing for a little bit while you're focused on your other characters and stuff. So there's a little bit of autonomy in here, but not too much. So
the way I think of it, as I mentioned earlier, about how you want to be mindful of when the enemies are going to attack. So that's when you should get maybe a dodge ready if you think it's going to be especially dangerous. And you can only have so many different actions available at any one point. Like I don't think Doc has any kind of evasion thing ready. And Moon does, so that's good. So I'm going to have 3/4 of my party ready to dodge whatever they're about to throw at me here.
okay.
So look, they just dodged it. And you saw the little percentage there, that's the odds that they could dodge it based on their own accuracy and dexterity. So it doesn't always work, it depends on a number of factors.
Okay. So basically, how long have you been working on this game? I mean, because it's just you, right? You don't have anybody else?
I do everything except for the audio.
Oh, okay.
There's someone who does the sound, Rafael Longoria, and Jake Kaufman does the music. He did music for games like Shovel Knight and what's some other ones? DuckTales Remastered.
Oh, nice. So, I mean, it's definitely got some experienced players on here. And you made how many games before this one?
Just Boot Hill Heroes and then some iPhone games.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, everybody's got to start somewhere, but I mean, this has kind of been your passion project for quite some time. I remember talking with you a couple of years ago, and you were, going to game conventions and having people play your game, and getting it working. I think, what's the biggest challenge you've had so far making this game?
I think fixing all the bugs, as we've experienced a few times so far tonight. There's just a lot going on, and there's a lot to test for. All these different systems come together, and you've got to account for so many things. We've got a few multiplayer bugs, so that's why we're not doing multiplayer right now, but we'll try that again in a little bit.
Okay. So what engine is making this? Like, did you use like some type of platform to make this game, or is it?
No, it's just from scratch in C#.
So you used all the artwork is yours too?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So like this game doesn't even, it has all of its own assets. Every script that you see in the game is written by David. So like this is a big undertaking, like where do you even start, like before you even start making a game this big?
Where do you start before you start? I don't think you should start before you start. I think you should just start. But start small. Don't make something. Don't make this. Make something. If you want to make, my advice to anybody who wants to make their game is to think of like, how can I make just a piece of that game and make it a different game? And I would say just start with that first.
Okay. So what are your inspirations for this particular game? Like, what influenced you RPG-wise?
Any SNES classic RPG. You can see a lot of EarthBound in this. There's also like a lot of Secret of Mana.
Yeah, you can definitely see some EarthBound in here.
Final Fantasy 3 or 6 is my favorite game. But that game is also a multiplayer. A lot of people don't know. That was kind of the inspiration, because I really love that game, and that game is fun to play multiplayer, but it's not quite set up for it. So kind of the idea behind the combat was what would combat look like in a command-based RPG that was also multiplayer. So that's how we kind of came up with this sort of real-time system.
Okay, so I mean, you definitely had multiplayer in line when you first made this game, then.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's something that that's pretty interesting. The way that it's a multiplayer. Most of these like simple multiplayer games that you play, like Castle Crashers or something like that, those are all like beat 'em up games. And so for this to be like an RPG, like I can see me and my friends like hanging out and like just playing this game all day and just progressing through, or even like me and my wife just playing on like a couple of nights and stuff, and just progressing through the game, so that way we can spend time with each other and still have like a good time. Mm-hmm. So and plus is it kind of balanced a little bit, like if I'm playing with you, you're not necessarily carrying me through the entire game, are you?
I might, but it can be as much as you want. You could have somebody, so you can split up the characters. There's 4 of them among up to 4 players, so you could have one person control just 1, another person control 3, so take some of the workload off another person. Depends on what you want to do, and you can only have one person controlling in the overworld for as far as walking, but you can open the menus for all the characters at the same time, depending on who's controlling them.
Well, that's good. So I don't have to wait around for you to select your gear while I'm moving around. Because, like, it looks like Kid right now, he's the one who's leading the party. So whoever's playing as Kid is the one who's, like, leading it. So, and now how did you just switch characters there?
I guess it'd be select. I'm not sure what you call it on Xbox, but I call it the select button. That just switches your party leader. So okay. It doesn't really matter if it's one player, but if it's multiplayer, it's whoever controls that character would lead the party.
Okay, so that determines like who strikes first or something like that too?
No, it just leads the party.
Oh, okay. So now you can like pitch camp here. It turns to night. There's obviously a little bit more different enemies here. You got like a little deer sleeping right next to you and everything like that. And
those are just our horses. They're taking a rest. We're going to cook some food.
Oh, okay. So now it has a cooking mechanic here. So what are you cooking here?
Rosie's cooking up, let's see, let's have beef stew. Let's give that to Moon. She thought it tasted grody. Okay, she doesn't like that. She's not a very good cook right now. Her chef rank is only 2.
Oh, okay.
So the more you cook, the better it'll get, though. So we're not only are we feeding the party and getting perks, which are kind of battle bonuses, but we're also improving our chef rank.
Okay, so you definitely have, and it tells you how many, because it has a recipe thing, unlike Breath of the Wild, where you kind of had to make sure that you knew what made what. At least you have specific recipes. And do you learn recipes along the way?
Yep. You can get recipes usually get them from restaurants. If you go to a restaurant or a saloon and you order food, you get the food, but you also learn a new recipe if you don't already know it. And you can also get it from just talking to people. They'll share the recipes. Also from the newspaper, prints recipes sometimes.
Awesome. So, so then you have like a different mechanic here. Now, can you kind of like discover your own recipes, or is it kind of just like you have to know it in order to make it?
Yeah, you got to know the recipe. Otherwise, you won't cook anything.
Okay, well, that's still pretty cool because then you can figure out, what ingredients you need, because you definitely want to stock up on supplies before you go out into the wilderness. Like, as with, real life and, similar to like Oregon Trail, you want to make sure that everything is all packed up. And it's pretty cool that you can come across, campfires and cook some meals before you go out, instead of like having to go back into town and then, buy med kits and stuff like that and hope that you don't run out.
Right. So you can buy food, take it with you. You can eat food when you cook it, which is more effective. But you can also just carry it with you. Let's see if I have any food right now. No, but you can potentially do that. That way you can use it anytime.
Oh, awesome! So now, can you use it in battle too, or no?
Usually no, but there is a way you can with a special kind of action.
Oh, okay. So now, when you're in battle, do you have like a healer or something like that, a healing class, or are you kind of on your own?
Well, there is a hat that's kind of focused on healing, and there's different healing actions you can learn as well. But I would say this, more than other RPGs, is more focused on evasion than healing, so there's a little bit of both.
Oh, awesome. So right now, we haven't really like gone too far here. We're in a town in the middle, because it's a little bit easier to discuss what the game is while you're kind of midway through, instead of like just starting out. Because most RPGs, like when they first start out, like it's definitely a process to get to the point where you actually are doing a lot of the actions that we want you to see. So, what town are we in now?
This is Swellsville. It's kind of your main hub town. It's the first town you'll come to in the game, and from here you can take the train to other towns.
Oh, cool.
The train depot.
So, and can you get to other towns by riding your horse as well, or?
I don't think there's any towns you can get to just from your horse. No.
Oh, okay. So, where are we going here? Like, what's our next objective?
Well, I was going to show you. So sometimes there's newspapers published, and you can check it for different side quests and things going on. So right now this says there's a rabies outbreak in Swellsville, so you can click on this and read the newspaper and find out what's going on. So I won't read all this, but this is talking about how there's a rabies outbreak and how it's spreading among the animals near Swellsville. So it's kind of like how you find your side quests.
Oh, okay.
Just read about them in the newspaper.
Well, that's
There's
good.
also like people who will like sell things, and you can get coupons for different shops. You can, as I said before, you can learn recipes. You can read obituaries. You can look at advertisements of other things going on. I guess it's kind of like Grand Theft Auto, where you do the same thing.
Yeah,
but,
it's definitely pretty content rich. And you don't at least have to talk to everybody to get those random side quests.
Yeah, I wanted there to be kind of like a central place where you get all the information at once, and so it's easier to keep track of. So we still have to go out and do it now that we know about it.
That's cool. So now, do you have like a quest log, or you just...
No, you just gotta remember. So I just sort of unlocked this rabies quest, so we're gonna go to the farm and see what's going on with that.
Okay, so there's side quests that you can kind of, if you don't want to blow through the game right away, you can kind of just chill out and do the side quests. Sometimes, like, that's what I like to do. I like to come into town, do all the side quests before taking on like the final boss, because at least that way you get some practice too.
Mm-hmm. It's also kind of a way to unwind after a big chapter, because the chapters in the game kind of have you going off and kind of far away, and and then you eventually return back to Spellsville, and you kind of take it easy for a while, stock up on equipment, see what's going on in the newspaper, do a few side quests. So right now, this pig has.
So you got a rabid pig here.
Yeah. So he's much more difficult than the other pigs that we fought. One thing is power regenerates a lot faster, so we have to be mindful of that. But let's see how I do. Let's heal. Let's pause it because it's getting too much.
Yeah, so I mean, you can definitely see like how well the pause feature is appreciated here, especially on a tougher enemy. You know.
Yeah. You get used to kind of like figuring out like how this is going to go down time-wise and what moves you're going to be able to use before the enemy uses theirs. So I like this setup. So let's keep going. So we healed Doc. Doc used Bounty. Used Smash. We used the slow on him. Kid has a shovel that's sort of imbued with the slow ailment,
Okay.
So it slowed the pig down. And then Rosie hogtied him, which helps him. It might make him completely fail his next action, so I gotta keep that in mind. It's like a 50% failure rate if you're paralyzed, so he's slow and paralyzed, so that's pretty good for us. So because he's paralyzed, I'm not gonna use any more evasion stances. I'm just gonna risk it.
Oh, awesome! And then so you can see what elements are here on the pig here, like of which things that you've gotten here. So that's pretty good to figure out, just so that you're not like hog tying him like 3 times or something like that.
Yeah, see, he's paralyzed, worked, and he completely failed his attack. Now he's got something pretty cheap he's charging for. It's probably a stance. Yeah, it's the rabbit stance, which makes sense because he's a rabbit pig.
Oh, awesome. So yeah, I mean, like, this is kind of like the battle play here, and wow, you just kind of got killed there.
I was trying to get acrobatics off in time, but I didn't do it, so that's another reason why I gotta be careful of the timing.
Holy smokes. So now, is that reviving in 10 turns, then?
It's not really a turn, but it's more like what it would cost to get to it's like charging an attack that would cost 10. So you can kind of see the characters all auto-revive, you don't use healing items on them, so if I can just kind of stall long enough, she'll be brought back.
Oh, awesome.
There's also ways to revive them with different other advantages you can use. But I can't stall forever because every time someone's knocked down like this during battle, they are down for longer and longer. So
oh, okay, so it has the diminishing returns on that.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I mean, that's important too, because I mean, like, essentially you can like have, there's really no risk then if you don't add that feature in there. So, well, that's pretty good that you don't have to waste like some revive or something like that. Now, if you finish the battle beforehand, can you still like bring her up, or?
Oh, she'll just come back on when the battle's over.
Oh, okay, that's good. Yeah, I mean, of course, like that's like in a harder game with like like Final Fantasy or something like that. Like once your character's dead, and then you have to find a way to revive her and everything like that. So, it seems like you've thought of like areas where RPGs can be frustrating, but at the same time, like you still want to have like those challenges where it's a fun challenge, right? Like it's not hard for the sake of being hard.
Yeah, I wanted to kind of phase out using items in battle altogether and not make it resource based. Although you still have to kind of worry about how much food you have, not that you starve, and also things like different wounds you might get. See, Rosie has a wound because she fell in battle, so that's a problem. Let's see what she's got. So she has vertigo, which increases the chance she'll miss with her attacks.
No.
But it heals after 2 battles. So I can heal that a number of ways. One way is just to wait 2 more battles. Another way is to go to a doctor or use our own doctor at camp. Or use a med kit. I mentioned those earlier. You can also just buy med kits and remove wounds that way. They're kind of pricey though, so you want to ideally do it the other way.
Okay, yeah, so that's kind of a thing, like if you absolutely have to, heal that person and stuff, and so at least like it gives you a little bit of a penalty for waiting, but it's not too severe where it's just unbearable.
Yeah. Right now this rabid dog is charging up a maximum power attack, so we're...
Definitely gotta get something ready here. So, I mean, that's kind of the thing, is like, this game, we've been playing for a little bit here, and whoa, jeez. Yeah, that definitely is pretty powerful. So, it, like, I haven't played this game in a while, so I was definitely a little bit off key and stuff, like exactly how it works. But, I mean, we've been playing for about, half hour, 45 minutes. And like already we kind of like know like what's expected of the game, to the point where like I can start thinking of different areas and stuff. Like this rabid dog, man, like it's gonna get you.
Yeah.
So
that's what happens if you, even as I said, like battles can go either way. Even if the enemy levels are outmatched, you can lose against a really easy enemy, or you can win against a really hard enemy, depending on how you let things go.
Well, it definitely keeps you on your toes, and that's important too, especially if you have to go back to a different thing. Now you see Doc, he just got knocked down again, so his counting timer is up to 20 now. So, as you were saying before, it's definitely a diminishing returns on how long it takes you to revive yourself.
Yeah, I don't know if we can win. Let's see.
So yeah, I mean, like, and we're not even halfway done with these enemies, so it's definitely something that you want to keep an eye on, and just make sure that, like, he's not gonna, rip you apart too much here.
Just gotta be mindful of those larger attacks. There's got one coming up, so let's make sure everybody is ready for it. Rosie can get her acrobatics out in time. No, she can't.
No.
Oh, but then Moon got lucky. The attack Moon 62% chance to dodge, and it worked. Which is also great because he wasted like a huge attack, so all that power has gone to waste.
Okay, well that's kind of a relief, and I think that's what makes the game a little bit exciting too, because it's kind of unpredictable, and at the same time it's still fair. So. It's always one of those things where you're on the edge of your seat instead of, waiting for him to like he automatically focuses on one person and like just knocks her out and stuff, and then you lose your best character and everything like that. That's always frustrating. So oh man, Rosie's down again. So
yeah, she's got like 3 wounds now.
Okay, so yeah, I mean like it's something that. It's getting pretty intense. Like this particular battle has gone on for about 2 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. So each level here, and we're kind of like into the game too. This isn't just like the first battle and stuff, so you don't have to worry too much about this being like par for the course. And Doc just got hit down again, so that's another 10 seconds or 10 rounds that he has to wait here. So. It definitely, gets frustrating as time goes on. And, oh, you just dodged that too.
Yep.
So that's, so, I mean, for, like, the art styling on this game too, I mean, it's, like, the background is well done. And then you got each character and everything like that that has different, little bit of animation, not too much. I mean, you're the only person making the artwork, so I mean, for an RPG like this, you can't go too wild with it. But I mean, it definitely gets the job done. You know that that's a rabid dog. You definitely got it down, and it's got a little bit of humor to it
that's
too.
Also a type of.
Yeah,
okay.
Well, that's fine. Like this is definitely still a work in progress. You said that it's coming out in about a month and a half, so. December 1st is the release date, at least what you're shooting for. So, what have you been doing to promote this game?
On my website, we've been talking this whole time, and we've kind of barely scratched the surface because there's just like a ton of little things that I want to talk about this game. So on my website, every weekday up until release, I do a corral countdown where I talk about something new about the game.
So what's the name of your website?
It's experimentalgamer.com.
Experimentalgamer.com, and then he's also got a Facebook page for the game that you can easily view those specific updates as they come across and everything like that. So it's pretty neat, like how a developer is more in tune with the audience, so that way you can, essentially get to know somebody who, is working on this game and, be excited for it, and just know, like, how, this is gonna be without actually, like, playing the game and, taking a chance to see if it's even worth, the price tag that's going to come out without it charging, because that's kind of the fault of new indie games, is that they kind of have to have, like, this word of mouth type thing, and if it's just one game that, like, just your friends play and stuff, it's not, going to catch on too much. But if you're someone who's, like, looking for an RPG game and you're watching, like, the YouTube video that I'm about to post, and or if you're looking at his Facebook page, you're gonna, like, take some interest into it. And so that's a really cool thing that you're doing here. Now, I've also seen you've traveled a couple of gaming conventions too.
Yeah, I think I was last at the Video Game Summit this year at Mount Prospect or Villa Park, wherever it was.
Okay.
Yeah, we had it there. Was at ValorCon a while ago, but not much past that. Many years ago, we were at PAX East, so that was a lot of fun.
Well, that's cool. So, all right, let's see what you got here. Scream.
I'm losing bad again.
Oh man, kind of distracting them though. Like, so yeah. It's not that hard. It's just
I'm not bringing my A game.
Yeah, definitely. We're kind of, like, just playing through it and just seeing, like, exactly what type of stuff that we can show you. Like, what else do you want to share about this game?
I think I want to show a little bit of the co-op.
Okay.
We're going to try that again.
All right.
We'll try to avoid what caused it to not work last time. You want to jump in?
Yeah, sure. Let me grab my controller.
I'm not doing
here.
great.
All right, let me see if I can play here.
Okay.
So I got my controller here. Any Xbox controller works. We got, like, some Xbox One controllers here. So what character should I play here?
So I'm going to give you Kid and Rosie.
Okay, so
Rosie is unconscious right now, but good luck with that.
Okay, so, like, you're just switching the controllers over. That's all you have to do. Like, I can just jump in and start playing here, just to make sure. So I'm too terrified to take action.
You just wore off. You're good now.
Alright, so I'm going to try to smash him here. And then, so he's building up his thing here, and let's see, I'll try this Beagle Bay here. Look at that Beagle here. So I'm going to hit dodge here, because he's staggering now. And he performed a headbutt, and
attacked Moon, she dodged it.
Okay, well, that's good. So now I joined the game, and it's that easy to come into this game without having to like, I can come in and, like, if I have to go or something like that, I can just leave and he can just pick up the gameplay as well.
Yep, if I want to go make a sandwich or something.
So awesome, yeah, and then I can take care. I don't have to pause the game to actually get going here. And so now you turn rabbit here, so let's use smash here.
Oh. Other than losing Rosie there,
shoot.
Oh
no! He's
almost
crazy.
Done. You've almost got him though. There we go.
Let's. Yeah. All right. So. So okay.
Now
and then it crashed. But so all right. So
I tried to take you out. That's what I do.
No, that's okay. So basically, I mean, we got a lot of gameplay on here. So, like, what else? Do you want to talk about here to get us excited about Boot Hill Bounties?
All right, let's see. Do we talk about some of the hats and? I didn't actually change any of my advantages, so you saw me that whole time use the same characters, the same advantages, but you get new hats, so you learn completely different moves, and they're all kind of a twist on previous moves. So you have to learn how to play almost entirely different styles. So it kind of keeps you on your toes and mixes things up. But then you also can get a hat advanced enough where you can take skills from it and mix it with another hat and kind of develop your own hat with all your favorite skills on it.
Awesome. So, as I said before, it's coming out December 1st. You can find him on experimentalgamer.com.
Oh yeah, and my Twitter is @BootHillHeroes.
@BootHillHeroes on Twitter. You should follow him. Definitely, he's going to post some updates there, depending on what social media you prefer. It's across all platforms. What's in your near future besides promoting this game? Like, do you have any other games that you're excited to work on, or are you just gonna definitely see how this one goes?
We'll see how this one goes, but I've got a lot of ideas. Probably what I go for next depends on how this game's received, and it's I'm ready to work on a new game, that's for sure, after all these years.
Awesome. I've definitely seen you grow with this game, and so it's very exciting that this is finally coming out and that you can share it with everybody. And I really hope that you guys look at this game on December 1st and give it a try. The price hasn't been set yet, but it shouldn't be too expensive. But it'll be definitely worth your time to give it a shot and see how it goes. So that's it for our specific interview. I really appreciate you coming out and testing your game with me. That's a really cool thing that I've been able to do. And if you're a game developer and you want to chat about your game or something like that, hit me up. Comments down below. And if you like this video, hit a thumbs up. It not only helps me, but it helps David here as well. And if you like my content, I might actually do a lot more of these in the future if they're well received. So subscribe to this content because I definitely like doing this. It's really cool to interview, and it's more to find out brand new games that are coming on and things. So I really appreciate you taking the time to stop by, David. Yeah. And for you guys at home, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.